that we can answer, we will answer them. Those we can't, we won't. But we do have representatives for the city here and also from the police department. So if there's questions, and for any one of us, they have agreed also to step up and to answer any questions. So Ms. Saniskevich.
Okay, each person, we normally give 3 minutes, but because of the magnitude of things that have been going on lately in the city, everyone is going to get 5 minutes to speak, but we will have to cut the speaking off at 7 o'clock, so whichever comes first. But we will have to stop at 7 o'clock because we do have an agenda that we have to put forward and go through. So without further ado, William Reynolds, please. You get 5 minutes.
Good evening, members of the Citizens Police Oversight Board. My name is William Reynolds, and I come before you tonight as an advocate for justice, a voice for the community, and a witness to the ongoing devastation caused by unchecked abuse of power within law enforcement. Tonight, I speak about the murder of Jasmine Tucker on Thursday night, Thanksgiving. That should have been filled with family, gratitude, and peace, but instead became another horrific chapter in Akron's history. Jasmine Tucker was hunted down and killed by Officer Devin Fields, who used a military-style assault rifle, a weapon designed for SWAT incidences and war zones, not for our streets or our neighborhoods. Officer Fields discharged that weapon with deadly force, extinguishing Jasmine's life in a manner that was both excessive and unjustified. But the cruelty did not end there. For 8 minutes and 37 seconds, Officer Fields and others failed to render any potentially life-saving aid to Jasmine as he was lying, dying. In those excruciating moments, the inhumanity of the act became undeniable. This was not policing. This was an execution, and it is unacceptable. Jasmine Tucker's murder is emblematic of the systemic failures that plague our city and our nation. The use of military-style weapon in a situation that did not warrant it is a gross misuse of force and a glaring example of the militarization of police, which continues to disproportionately harm Black and brown lives. The deliberate inaction in providing medical aid shows a complete disregard for human life, a disregard that too often characterizes encounters between law enforcement and our marginalized communities. This board exists because we, as a city, recognize the urgent need for accountability. This board exists because we, as a city, recognize the urgent need for accountability and oversight. You hold the power to investigate, to question, and to demand justice, and today we demand exactly that. We demand that Officer Devin Fields be held accountable, not just administratively, but criminally for his actions. We demand this board push for continued transparency and independent investigation into Jasmine Tucker's murder, ensuring that every decision made that night is scrutinized and the justice is pursued without bias or delay. We demand an end to the use of military-grade weapons in routine policing, as their presence only escalates violence rather than ensures safety. But most importantly, we demand that the city take responsibility for the harm caused to Jasmine Tucker's family, others, and to the community that loved him. His death cannot simply become another statistic or another footnote in the ongoing struggle against police violence. His life mattered, and we will not let it be forgotten. This is a test, not just of your commitment to justice, but of Akron's willingness to confront the systems that enable such tragedies. To Jasmine's family, to our community, and to everyone who has suffered under this broken system, we owe the truth, we owe accountability, and we owe a promise that we will fight to ensure no one else endures what Jasmine endured. To this board, I say the people of Akron are watching, the world is watching. Show us that justice is more than a word, that accountability is more than an idea and that change is truly possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Lee Holden, please.
Good evening. Since Auditor Fennell has been in Akron, I've learned a lot about the importance of the use of force policy. It's really a reference point and a standard for determining whether police officers' actions were justified. And currently, that use of force policy is going to be reviewed and revised, and that is so important right now, because the policy at this point is a mile wide. It gives very little guidance to police officers about what is and is not permitted. It needs much more specificity, much more detail, and to that purpose, I call on the people of Akron really to give input into the policy. There are going to be public forums. There's one scheduled for January 21st. There are some other forums that are going to be put on by, I think, by city council members and so on. So it's really important that we attend those meetings and give our input and make sure that the input is very clear and specific and detailed. And I hope that all those who care about this issue will attend those forums and invite others to do so. And then once we have the input, once we have the direction, once we have the plan to review and revise the policy, it's going to be important to hang in there. This is going to be a process that will require lots of time, lots of meetings, and we really need to go the distance in this matter. So the other evening, Reverend Penfield spoke about not just producing another plan if we don't have the political will to carry it out. So the political will doesn't just sort of magically appear, it's generated by the people. So I really encourage all of us to stick with this process and to muster the political will to really make change, the change that we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holden. Tara Gibson, please.
Good evening. My name is Tara Gibson, and I'm here today to address a matter of grave importance: the continued employment of Officer Devon Fields within the Akron Police Department. Over the past 5 years, Officer Fields has filed 36 use of force reports. That's 7 complaints per year. Been involved in 2 fatal shootings and repeatedly demonstrated a pattern of excessive violence, from punching and kicking individuals to kneeling on their heads and using tasers indiscriminately. His actions are not isolated incidents. They are a dangerous trend. This is not the behavior of an officer committed to serving and protecting. It is the behavior of a ticking time bomb. Fields has not only cost lives, but also eroded community trust in the Akron Police Department. Worse yet, the system has enabled him. Despite his alarming record, no meaningful accountability has been enforced. What message does this send to our community? The excessive violence will be tolerated. That the safety of our residents is secondary to protecting officers with a track record of harm. This is a systematic issue, but it requires immediate action. Officer Fields must be removed from the force. Continuing to employ someone with his record endangers the community and the integrity of our police department. And let's be clear, this problem doesn't stop with Officer Fields. It extends to the very leadership that promised to reform the system. Our mayor ran on issue 10, vowing transparency and accountability under the Together Akron platform. but his inaction speaks volumes. His promises of unity and reform have become hollow words. I sleep well knowing I didn't vote for him, but many in Akron do not sleep soundly, worried about the next tragedy. What needs to be done is Officer Fields must be terminated immediately. His presence on the force is a clear and present danger. Independent oversight is critical. We need a civilian review board with absolute authority to hold officers accountable. Systematic reform must happen now. This includes de-escalation training and accurate accountability measures for every officer on the force. The people of Akron, we deserve better. We deserve leadership that delivers on promises of reform, not excuses. We deserve a police force that serves and protects, not one that terrorizes our community. This committee has the power to act decisively. I urge you to listen to the people of Akron and take meaningful action. The time for change is now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Lillian Barnes, please.
It's been a while. How you guys doing? I'm here for the same thing. I'm here for Jasmine Tucker. I'm here about the officer, Davon Fields. I was able to pull up a little bit of his background as far as with the Ohio Attorney General, and like how Tyra has said, he has pretty lengthy record to be a police officer in our community. You know, it's pretty scary as far as me raising my children, as well as seeing this young 15-year-old child being gunned down the way he was on Thanksgiving Day. I don't know if you guys ever lost a loved one on the holidays, but that is the most hurtful thing. This family is never going to be the same. I might have not lost my loved one on a holiday as far as when it comes down to violence, but I lost my mother on Thanksgiving Day. And trust me and believe me, that is the most hurtful thing that a family can go through on a holiday. But to hear also the fact that they're not this body, because we understand that this body cannot fire the officer. But maybe we need to change to where in Cleveland, their oversight board is able to have them accommodations to be able to look at and fire officers, especially when they have a lengthy record like how he does with the Ohio General's office, as well as the records that was all over the internet. That's how we found out a lot of things. But I'm going to read a little something to hopefully that you guys can sleep on. My name is Jasmine Tucker. I am 15 years old. Akron Police Officer Davon Fields shot and killed me. I was killed on Thanksgiving Day as I was walking to my brother's house. Akron police officers was giving me demands as I was dying over 5 minutes. I was no threat. I did not shoot no gun. I did have a gun where they found in a zipped up pocket jacket. Where's the proof that I really shot it? He did not have on his body cam. He did not sit up there and have on his dash cam. This officer should be immediately fired. I love my family and my friends, and they also love me. My name is Jasmine Tucker. I will always be forever 15. Remain 15 because that's the age I was killed. Justice for Jazz, forever 15. I have wrote this many times because of the fact that when I sleep, I don't sleep good at night because I know that this community is failing this 15-year-old. You know, I'm not political. I can care less about Shamus. I'm not calling him mayor because he does not deserve that title from me. I told him that. If it was my child, Akron is blessed, very blessed that it was not my child, because I'm not going to ask for no peaceful, nothing. And I'm being serious. I said it multiple times. I cannot sit up here and say it no more. If this was my child, I cannot be peaceful. This family has been peaceful. They've been getting threats. They've been getting harassed. This community gets harassed by these officers. When is it going to end? We need a body that's going to really care. We need council to step it up. We know who they are. I'll name a few, Fesco and Kramer, and the other ones that want to stay silent. They are not giving you guys a chance to do what you guys got to do to make sure these officers are fired when they coming after us. And it's sad because this is what we voted for. Issue 10 is what we wanted, and they failed, including Shamus. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Anna Stevenson, please. Excuse me.
Hello, my name is Anna, and while I am not an Akron resident, I have many friends and peers who are, and I care deeply about their safety and well-being. I'm here today to urge you to fight tooth and nail for the family of Jasmine Tucker and for the city of Akron. For far too long, the Akron Police Department has escaped accountability. Residents around Ohio, around the country, watch in horror as it happens again and again. Citizens plead for change, for their lives, and when an incident of brutal police violence occurs, city officials echo the sentiments they think their people want to hear. They talk about how tragic it is, how it doesn't reflect the city and its police department, and how disturbing it is to see. But nothing actually changes, it just keeps happening. Now, once again, the community mourns. At 15 years old, Jasmine was just beginning his life. He deserved to see himself grow. He deserved to experience and thrive his teenage years. He deserved to blossom into adulthood and far, far beyond. Please do not cease in your fight for accountability. The family of Jasmine deserves justice. The city of Akron deserves justice. It is not safe for the officers involved, namely Devon Fields, in this brutal tragedy to remain in positions of power, and it is not safe in general to leave Akron PD's use of force without investigation at a higher degree. There needs to be real, tangible change put in place to make sure this cannot happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevenson. Fela Sutton, please.
Hey. Firstly here, peace and blessings to the family of Jasmine Tucker and the community of Akron. Just a moment here. Let me get this to go back down. I apologize, it just closed. Again, my name's Fela Sutton. I know a lot of you guys know me. I run the Akron Juneteenth Festival. I've been a DJ and a promoter here for 15 years. I'm a Kent State alumni. I'm a current Akron youth student. I'm a former club promoter. I've also done security for a lot of these children, a lot of these games. I myself, I have CCW, I open carry, I close carry, but it's in volunteer work to protect these folks because our city is kind of dangerous right now. I say all these things to say here, I've been in this city doing a lot of work for about 10, 15 years, deeply in the community. And we've never had times like this. This is unprecedented. These last 3 years here have been a terror on the community. I'd like to say a few things to the family and to the press, just to discuss that before I address the board here, because the family of Jasmine Tucker doesn't deserve the problems that they're getting right now. There's a lot of slander going around about this boy online. There's a lot of talking about what he was doing in that place that night and speculation of what that boy may have done in his past or what he may have been doing that night. The issue here is that that cop robbed us of the chance to figure out what was going on that night. There were no cameras turned on. He didn't have his lights on. I've been pulled over by the police like that. I've been pulled over by the police like that. In an unmarked car, coming out of a club, Mistaken identity, sure. People mess up. They may have thought somebody was in my car, but I've been pulled over like that. I didn't have a weapon at that time. I was young. I may have been 19 years old, pulled over like that. And I was scared for my life. I started to push on the gas. I started to run away, and then 2 more cars came behind them with their lights on. The police shouldn't be stalking us like that. Police have ways that they're supposed to do things, and this isn't how that was supposed to be done. We're making a lot of speculation about that young man and his family, and we're not talking enough about what we saw that policeman do that night. He violated several laws before he even went into his trunk and got that weapon and shot that boy. He didn't have his cameras on. His cameras weren't on because his lights weren't on. And then he went and got his own weapon from the trunk to do what? We'll never know because those cameras weren't on. That's an issue. That's an immediate violation. Garrett said the same thing a few days ago. If a cop right now were to hit someone in a drunk driving accident, he'd be fired. He'd be fired until you figured out what was going on. At least he wouldn't be paid. I bet he'd be on unpaid leave until we figured out what was going on or took him to trial. I say all that. I got ahead of myself because I didn't even want to get into that yet. But let's not keep talking about this young man when we don't know a thing about him. We weren't afforded the chance to know a thing about what was going on that night. It's depressing to see so many people talking like that towards our community. We are trying to raise our children. We're trying to give them things to look forward to. And when stuff like this happens, and we can't even justly ask for it to be looked into without being mocked and disgraced. I know everybody has seen some of the talk that's going on around this. It's disgusting. Let's just stop that. To get to what I wanted to address this board about, the Fraternal Order of Police and their show of force since this has begun. The Fraternal Order of Police, I don't really hear a lot coming out of our actual department. I know some of these black cops in our department. Officer Harding has to deal with me in regards to the Juneteenth. I know some of these officers. I know all these guys aren't just terrible folks. But that cop, Officer Fields, makes the rest of these officers look bad. It makes you guys look dangerous when the Fraternal Order of Police is making T-shirts and coming down here, 10, 20 people who aren't even from our city. Half those cops aren't even from here. That is a show of force. That is a threat. We're talking about threatening police and cops and city officials. None of us are bold enough to threaten them like they threaten us daily. They just shot that boy. I don't know what happened that night, but I know that when you are that comfortable to go to the back of your vehicle with no cameras on and then go shoot a child, that you're a little too bold. These guys are unleashed. It isn't all of them. Like I say, I know some of these cops, but that one right there, 36 cases in 3 years, it's too much. I just want to address that these cops are being burdened by continuing to pay this cop, having to have the Fraternal Order of Police come down here and protect him, and whatever just happened on Monday is an embarrassment to the police who do work here and do try to do their job. So what I'm saying is they're intimidating people. I don't know why that young man had that weapon. If he had the weapon, we're not going to speculate. But yeah, I'm almost up here, I know. But the thing about it is we have to speculate on what actually happened that night. People are scared. People do things to protect themselves. We can't be told to be quiet and sit down somewhere when we've been disrespected. Everyone's been very calm. Just to kind of clear all this stuff out here, to address the board, I wanted to know is that, to the Oversight Board, how can us as people help? How can we directly address you guys? In the last several incidents, we have seen things come out of these meetings that are good. We've seen orders pass, but I've never been able to read those first or maybe see about them or contribute to them. If there's maybe some clear lines that you guys can help us to help you guys. And then in regards to the current incident here, how is this being handled in regards to like the last several incidents? I know that we had a shooting of a young 15-year-old this summer. I know we've had Jasmine Tucker a couple of years ago. What are happening to these cops after these things happen, and how can we help, and how can we change those things if they're not efficient? Thank you, guys.
You want to answer how the investigations go? We're going to answer your question.
Okay, first, to participate in this process, if you would, you can go to our website, the Citizens Police Oversight Board website, and if you would send your information to us, we can put you on our email list where we send out our reports, we send out our agendas, and we send out the information that we produce. And then we also post it on our website. Now, you asked the question about the process and what would be done and what is going to be done. And there is a process that's been developed to when a shooting occurs, and it involves the initial investigation, as we know, with the BCI of Ohio, and then that information is then brought to the grand jury, which will make a determination. After that is done, then the Office of Professional Standards and Accountability with APD begins their investigation and review. And once they're complete, then myself, my office, as well as the chief gets that report, and that is when I do, or my office will do a review of the investigation. Now, we do not, and I say we being the board and the Office of Independent Police Auditor, do not investigate the actions, but we do review the investigation and then make a determination if we concur with the findings or if we do not concur with the findings. And if we do not concur or if we have recommendations, then there is a report that my office creates, and we bring it to this body, which includes bringing it to the public, where it's shared with the public, and this body will vote and determine if the report should be sent to the mayor and to the city council. And from there, there's a response that the mayor's office and the administration will give back to us, which we then share with the community. And we don't have the authority to implement the recommendations, but we do make those recommendations, and we present those recommendations in a public forum so that you, the people of the community, are aware of what we find and what we believe. And then from there, it creates an opportunity for more dialogue and action. But it's all based on really the response we get back from the mayor and the chief and the city administration. So right now, in the shooting that happened back in April, they're still in that various phases of that process, as well as the shooting with Mr. Jones is in that phase of the process. So I have not seen any of those documents or records. I have just initiated the review of the Jalen Walker shooting because it's finally gone through the litigation process. So that ought to give you an idea of how long this process is. And it's the process we have to work within right now. And so, I cannot speed it up. And in order to maintain objectivity, I do not insert myself or the office into any of these incidents prior to the completion of each phase. So I hope that answers your question.
Mr. Gibbon?
Could I add to the answer? Ma'am, pretty much everything that comes to this board for a vote goes initially through typically one or the other of two of our committees. One being the review committee, which deals with the particular incidents that Mr. Fennell was speaking to. The other is the governance committee, And most of the things that I think you've probably seen and we're talking about have gone through and been discussed at length in governance. If we'll provide your information, you'll get the notices of those meetings. We're going to be deciding about it tonight, but my expectation is that both those committees will meet on the second Wednesdays of each month at 4:30 and 5:30. You'll get notice of those meetings. Governance in particular, we've had very good public participation, and it's real participation. It's really just open discussion. So you and everyone else in the public who would like to, we would welcome your participation as we shape these matters that come ultimately to the board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Giffen.
Could I just say something?
Please.
What we didn't answer there is, so have any of these cops in the last several incidents actually been fired or went through the full litigation yet from these 2-year-old cases?
Not that we're aware of. Not that,
Who would be responsible for kind of going forward through that?
you mean as far as from our committee or our board?
Wakefield, Westfield.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
Officer Westfield was fired. He wasn't
yeah, so
shooting.
I want to go back and just make something clear. Not, Ms. Sutton, thank you so much for your question. I think the understanding that we want to give everybody is that we don't have a lot of meat on our bone, just to be frank and honest, okay? We can make recommendations, however, our recommendations after our auditor does them and presents them to our board and we vote on them and we send them along, there isn't anything that has to be done with the recommendations that we send.
Just if they'll pass them and vote on it and...
Yeah, that's all. That's we're operating based on the authority of that the charter has enabled us to operate from. And I think that's the disconnect that is happening between the community and our board. And so I know when we first started, it was like, hey, what are you all going to do? You guys, as we have learned, and I would say as this board has fought for, we have fought for more authority. We have fought to put more meat on the bone, and we were denied that. And so from our process, what we have authority to do, we went out and got what we believe is the best expert in this field of oversight in the nation. And that is Anthony Fennell, and he's put together a great staff. And since he's been here, I believe that, and maybe I can speak for our board with this, we've gotten so much more accomplished based on the reports that he's been able to give to bring a lot of these things to light. The help that we need from our community is to bring about and ask us the questions that you're asking so we can give you the understanding. And so there's not a disconnect between this body and the community. Because I think for a long time there was. I think that the community believed that we had more authority or more power than really we don't have. And so what's going to have to happen as time goes on, we're going to have to look to possibly amend what that charter says and what it reads. Yeah. Yep.
I agree. Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to piggyback on what the chairman just said, which is a very poignant statement. When you ask what can you, the community, do, if and when, I'm going to say when those amendments to the charter comes up, we need the community to vote for that amendment. We need for them to vote for that new charter amendments to give us the power that you and we wish that we had and could have now. We don't have it right now. But, trust and believe there's going to be some amendments to this charter, and that's where you, the public, will come into play. You vote for it just like you voted for this one, to seat us on this board. Vote for it, and that will give us power. We know what a lot of the other boards around the country, the power that they have. In New York, they have the power to actually fire their police officers. So I'm not saying we're there yet. We're a long way from there, but we do have to start getting to the point where we get more power as a board so that we can protect and serve the citizens through what we're able to do as a board. So that's your role. That's going to be your role. That's going to be your role.
Ms. Ms. Anastasia, how many more slips do you have? Because we have 20 minutes.
We do have to keep, we
I
have
know we
four
have
more,
some
four
questions.
more people.
We got four more
Four
people.
more people. Miss, thank you, Miss
If we
Fela.
have time, sir, we'll come back to your
Yeah.
question.
William Reynolds, please. Oh, you already spoke. Okay. Ashley White.
Okay, hello. I guess I'm going to respond to, well, first I want to say my condolences to the family of Jasmine Tucker. I've lost family members, and it's hard, but I can't imagine losing a family member, especially a child, in this manner. And then the people who did it don't have answers. They've hidden what they did, and now you're getting all this blame. It's just an unimaginable tragedy, and I really feel for you guys and for everybody who's lost people due to police violence. I guess it's frustrating to come up here and speak to this board because you don't have the power to fire Devon Fields, and it's hard to see the community come out here and plead with our city to protect us, to make sure that we're not going to have to see another name, see another person lying in the street, and never get answers, waiting 2 years or more, 5 years to hear any reports. This isn't something I like to do. I don't like to come down here. I have a life. I am sure most people do. As much as I like to make sure the city's safe, but it just feels very fruitless sometimes when you come down here and you are speaking to people and there's no power given to the citizens. So, and also when you come down here, like on Monday, and you have to fight to get in here to even speak because the back 3 rows are filled with police officers who've made T-shirts like it's a sports event. And I do wonder how many of those officers are members of this community or people who just come in, do their shift, and go over to whatever city they're from, never spend any time in Akron with the people. How many of them have been involved in prior cases where there have been police shootings or use of force? So what kind of investigation are we supposed to expect when we see that most of the police force is out here supporting the person who we've seen kill a child on video? What's the investigation going to be if that's the people that are here? I just can't think that it would be unbiased if you guys have money to make T-shirts and sit in here and intimidate people. I just think that we have, it feels like you're just fighting against, we have facts that we've seen. Then when we say that we have these facts, we're told, well, we don't know, there could be more. And the reason we don't know that is because the cameras went on. I don't even understand why the cameras can just be off. I don't understand when you have a job where these are the standards, you can break the standard, you can keep your camera off, you can bring your weapon in, you can decide to do whatever you want, and you don't get punished. You get paid leave, you get to not come to work and get money. That's not a punishment. And your feelings getting hurt because people call you out isn't a punishment either. So I think that there's a lot of hypersensitivity within the police department because people are calling them out. And it's not about ego, it's about being in this community and trying to be safe. People aren't safe here right now. People don't feel safe. And if you ask the community, on Monday they talked a lot about unity. If you ask the community about unity, you'll get a lot of people who don't regularly get interactions with police, who might say, yeah, that's fine, we're united or whatever. You ask a lot of people, and they'll say, no, I've had bad interactions. I don't feel like we're unified. I don't feel like we're heard. So I just want to repeat that there's no unity if you have people coming in to harass the citizens and then going home to wherever they feel safe, and they make Akron seem like this big bad place. How can they treat people from Akron as a good place if they don't even know Akron? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Emily Brown, please.
It's actually, oh, sorry. It's actually Emmy.
I'm sorry.
I've come up to today to speak on behalf of not just Jasmine or Tucker, but all of the fallen people and the lost lives. And I would like to address this board, and you've given us more time, so I've kind of thrown out what I was previously going to say to extend what I was going to say. But I would like to start off by saying here in America, we have a Second Amendment and we also have a Sixth Amendment. Our Second Amendment says that we have a right to have a weapon, we have a right to bear arms, and our Sixth Amendment says we have a right to a trial. And Jasmine did not get either of those, and many other people didn't get either of those. Mike Jones didn't get that. Jalen Walker didn't get that. And many other fallen people. I would like to address I would like this board to make strong, I know you can't make legislation, but I would like you to propose legislation to be enacted against Akron's police gang, Tango 22, which I believe has strong activity that's happening right now, and I would like this board to focus their investigation on that. Legislation that would not limited to, but include looking into the spiking rates of police violence, particularly on our youth, in our Black youth, and more specifically, not even including the child that was punched in the head at Firestone, not including the children that were punched in the head at the park for having an argument in the park, the children that were tear gassed. Several kids have been tear gassed in this school. I would like to make legislation against tear gassing at school. I mean, I would like to see if we can have any, pose any legislation that would limit gang activity in the police department, including making, I'm sorry, I'm so out of, making legislation that would monitor and catalog all of the gang tattoos and tattoos that police get on the force and through the course of their career, cataloging activities, gang activities such as increased activity of violence against particular vulnerable populations, not limited to homeless people, youth and Black individuals. I would like them to monitor one of the criteria for joining police gangs is falsifying evidence, like falsifying shell casings, like we may have seen in Jalen Walker and we may have seen in the case of Jasmine Tucker, falsifying evidence in smaller ways, falsifying, also committing brutalities against individuals in the city, and also committing protester intimidation, which is big in this city, including officers coming in here and sitting in the back row. And yes, they have a First Amendment right to protest, but they do not have, hate speech is not protected under the First Amendment, and intimidation and gang activity is not protected under the First Amendment, which we should be able to monitor if we can. And I would like to see legislation proposed that would say if a officer fails to turn on their body cam, that is felony tampering or pre-tampering with I don't know what we can put forth to the mayor's office and to the city council, but things of that nature should be discussed. I would like to see this body put forth more legislation on expanding their power, because I know I know you've been trying and getting things to be put to vote on, but I would like to see strong legislation for that, even if it has to end up being backtracked in the end. I would like to see push as hard as we can to get legislation that you have firing power or power to review cases or review cases while they're happening rather than after the fact, so that we can have a time crunch and time constraint. And lastly, I would like to see that the board pushes to have some sort of not ending qualified immunity, because I don't know if you guys will have that power ever, but limiting the qualified immunity, and especially in cases of involving a death in that way. And I know I just dumped a lot on you guys, but I would like you guys to at least see what we can do with these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, for your suggestions. Last one is Kimberly Mohammed, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. To the family of Jasmine Tucker, you may not know who I am, but my disabled daughter and I stand with you in solidarity and love, and we support you. We know the hell that you're going through right now, and we know the hell that you're about to go through. My husband, Mohammed Isafan, was shot and killed by Akron police just 5 years ago. His anniversary was Sunday, so I'm feeling a little bit burnt with the recent killing of Jasmine Tucker. This shouldn't have happened to my Mohammed. This should have ended long ago. It shouldn't have continued to Jayland and Jasmine and all the other victims that have either been brutalized, slammed, punched, or killed. Across the nation, civilian oversight boards have been put in place. And as a general fact, more people have been killed since oversight boards have been put in place. And we are on track this year to have the most people killed in this country out of any other year. And we still have a couple weeks to go. I am here tonight to represent those forgotten victims of Akron police, to show you the history that has been going on, that has been overlooked, put in the shadows, including my husband, because I can guarantee you, you don't know his name. His name is Mohammed Isafan. He was shot by Matthew Akers and Jamie Ray. Matthew Akers, being a medic in the Marines, after shooting my husband and hearing my husband taking labored breaths and seeing blood bubbling out of his back, still left him lay there for 2 minutes, knowing that the first 2 minutes after shooting someone is critical. Let him lay there. He wanted him to die. This is the same officer that cuffed him so hard after killing him that it showed severe handcuff wounds on his autopsy. Was that necessary? And then he stood over his body. Another officer came up and said, "Nice shot." And he turned around and said, "Yeah, he zigged when he should have zagged." Do you want to know how I know that? Because they turned on their body cams after they killed him, long enough for me to see him be harassed, laying in a field in 15-degree weather with his pants down around his ankles. No barricades, no blankets, no nothing, no dignity, no respect. As far as your comments about how you get, investigations, you need to know that that's the police investigating themselves. And BCI is right in their pockets too. And I have the name of a victim of Akron police who his case was never investigated by BCI. I also have my Mohammed, who had no body cams running in his murder. I found a surveillance video from across the street and have an eyewitness showing that he never posed a threat on these two officers. And what two things do you think were not presented in his grand jury? So when you get that no bill and that clearance for those officers from that grand jury, just know that's just as faulty as the rest of the system. This is so hard. The Akron police give our loved ones a life sentence of death, and then they give us a life sentence in hell as families. Just like every other family, I have been harassed, threatened. My Muhammad has been buried in the press. Of course, with the name Muhammad, they took the opportunity to make themselves look like heroes and make him look like a terrorist for nothing. Nothing. You showed me how you all think of me. I was in Akron at Acme number 1, and my car said Justice for Muhammad on it. Badge number 1182 of the Akron Police Department came up and got in my face and said, "You listen to me good. Nothing is going to happen to those officers. You mark my words, Miss Vaughn, you and your daughter. Even though you're in federal civil court right now, which we are still in, any of you know that there is a victim in federal civil court right now?" And this man decided it was his responsibility to come up and get in my face and tell me and my disabled daughter that I share with Muhammad that we were going to lose, that we had no chance. I filed a formal complaint against this officer, and what came back? His actions were justified. Really, harassing the family of a loved one killed by Akron police, and then what gives him the right to think that he can make the outcome of our trial? It's only a matter of time before the Akron police kill again. And at the rate they're killing, it's only a matter of time before it comes to one of your doorsteps. Then, would you want to do what I'm doing? Would you want to stand at the rooftop of the city council and scream it from that rooftop? Would you want to come and talk to this oversight board? Would you want to support the other families that have come after you? Then and only then you will be a member of the club that nobody wants to be a part of. I implore you all and challenge you all to force this department in a different direction. In some ways, you are the only hope that we have left. You can't help my daughter and I. You can't help Muhammad. You can't bring him back for me. But you can stop the murderous, erroneous, and continuous behavior of this department. That same officer, Matthew Akers, the Marine medic, continues to be a trainer to this day and bragged in deposition, "I've trained almost every officer currently on the force." I bet you he's had trained at least one of them.
Muhammad.
No problem. And because he was killed, he killed my husband right before Christmas, he got a paid Christmas vacation.
Ms. Muhammad.
Thank you for listening to me tonight.
Thank you. Sorry for.
Justice for my Muhammad. Justice.
Mine would be really quick, if that's all right, and I can still fill out the paper.
Quickly, please. Go ahead.
I don't know if okay. I just had two things. One is that Jalen Walker's killers, the names weren't like officially released, and now that so much time has passed, like that still needs to happen. And then my second thing is I was told that there were multiple Tango 22 members at the meeting 2 days ago with the cheerleader squad for killing a kid. And I just wanted to ask the board what your stance is on Tango 22, what has been done about Tango 22? Just like, if you have an answer for that.
I didn't understand you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little more slowly?
Oh, sorry. I was told the meeting 2 days ago, City Council, there were multiple Tango 22 members. They're in solidarity for an officer who killed a child. And so my question to the board is, what is your stance on Tango 22? And what has been done about Tango 22 already, or what do you plan to do? That's just what I wanted to ask the board.
I personally have not heard of that. I'm sorry, I've not heard of it. Maybe someone else on the board has, but I've not heard it. Tonight was my first time hearing about Tango 22.
Mine as well.
Okay, you should.
What? I didn't
hear.
I mean, it's literally like the local police gang for like, just like an open secret, like, so you guys should really do something about that, like, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll have to research it. I'll research that. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
bringing it out. But I've not, tonight was my first time hearing about that. Such a gang or whatever, but we'll research it for sure.
Ms. Anaskevich, Ms. Castle.
I think in different forms we have, in different various ways, Tango 22 has been discussed in various capacities. As far as the actual like jurisdiction and the role of this board, at this time we haven't had anything that we have been able to intervene at all within. As Mr. Boyd described, right now we are really reviewing the complaints and the use of forces investigations that are completed through our office. So at this time, it hasn't been anything that the board has actually been a part of to assert any type of stance one way or another. But I do know it has come up in different conversations within committees or different forums that some of us have attended throughout the past almost 2 years.
I do think if there's anything to be proactive about, like, that is definitely, like, would be on the top of the list. But thank you for responding and being receptive to that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Skipper.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we of course have the broad power to investigate policies and practices within the department. And I'm sure the auditor will want to take this information about Tango 22, but it may well be that we vote to initiate that investigation.
Those are all the comments that I have, Mr. Boyd.
All right.
Chair.
I don't need answers, I'd just like to throw out 3 quick questions for you.
3?
3 quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I feel like one thing that would improve our police department and improve our competence in the Akron Police Department would be, as many cities do, have a residency requirement. Then they have equity in the city and they care about the neighborhoods a little more. The second thing is I would like to see the officer held accountable for some of his policy violations that do not affect the criminal investigation. The fact that he didn't turn on his body camera doesn't affect the criminal investigation at all. And the third thing is the process that we have. Is that the best process that is out there, or would there be recommendations that could be given to improve the process so it's more efficient in any way?
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you all so much for making the trip to come down and to lend your voice. We wanted to make sure that you not only were seen, but you were heard, and I hope that that has happened on this evening. Mr. Gibner, you made a comment. On your comment, are you making a motion Or are you just making a comment?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman. I assume, without knowing, that the auditor will look into this issue of Tango 22 and bring to us any recommendation for a formal investigation to start.
Thank you, Mr.
Unless-
Gibson.
Mr. Fennell,
I did.
do you want a motion now?
Thank you. All right, we'll continue with.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to respond real quickly to the speaker who talked about the fact that Cleveland's Oversight Board has the power to punish and discipline their officers. And one of the distinctions, or the main distinction with Cleveland, is that they are operating under their police department is operating under what we call a consent decree.
Yep.
In other words, the Department of Justice has come in and looked at their pattern, their practices, and gone to court, filed a lawsuit, went to court, and the court has found that they had many violations, and that therefore the court issued a consent decree requiring that the police comply with the agreed-upon recommendations. We don't have that power, obviously. As has been mentioned, one of the things that we really, really want to do is to make sure that we have the power to do what you all voted for, our community voted for in Issue 10. So I just wanted to make that distinction. A consent decree is something that is one of the weapons, but it takes a lot of legal steps to get that done.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. We'll move on with our meeting to go over item number 6, which is our report out, and I'm going to start with our auditor, Mr. Fennell.
Thank you. And I'll try to make this brief. I have some amendments and some changes to the report that I prepared for tonight's meeting. So I wanted to update the board and the community on some of the projects, or what I call projects, but some of the projects that we have been working towards and working on over the last several months. And first, with the database and case management development. On yesterday, I had a meeting with the director of the law department, mayor, board chair, and Mr. Tony Ingram. And out of that meeting we reached some consensus and made some progress on a couple of areas. And one is with the need for the board and the request of the board to have independent legal consultation. So we have reached a consensus that we'll have to speak more specifically with an executive session with the board. But I did want to share that I think we've come to a conclusion that's going to work for everyone, and we'll be presenting that tonight to the board for further discussion. And then secondly, I've talked about the need for us to have a database and case management system for some time. And at the beginning of the year, I'm going to work with the law department to get our RFQ, or RFP rather, prepared so that we can solicit from vendors to get some responses back so we can develop and purchase our case management system. The other piece is, like I said, now that we have the Jalen Walker shooting has gone through its litigation process, the office will begin our review of that investigation, and that'll be ongoing, and we will keep you apprised of the progress there. And then there are a couple of what I call action items. One, well, they kind of go hand in hand, but the first one is that as an office, our deputy independent police auditor, Keisha Myers, prepared a mission statement, and thought it was important that we have a mission statement that kind of sets the tone and guides our office as we do our work. And so I wanted to bring that mission statement to the board. I don't know if the board needs to approve it, but I definitely wanted to bring it to the board's attention And if it needs to be approved by the board, I would ask that someone make a motion to move in that direction, because we'd like to be able to put this mission statement on our website and use it on our literature, and also be a guide for us as we move forward with the work from the office.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I do think it needs board approval and will be stronger with board approval, and I would move that this be adopted.
Second.
Discussion?
This is just a small little sort of a grammatical thing, but I love the statement. The last sentence, or I guess it's the whole sentence. Yeah, it says, build bridges of trust between the Akron Police Department and the communities. It actually would say it serves, because we're talking about department.
ITS?
Yeah. The Akron Police Department and the communities, it serves.
It serves.
It,
Serves.
without the S. Okay. Gotcha.
Well,
Logo.
It
replace it with, they with it, and then serves at the end of it.
serves
Yes.
with the S. Gotcha.
Okay. So.
Thank you.
So is this one right here not it? Is it the one on the back or the one on the bottom?
It goes to the back from the
Oh, they all
bottom
go
to the
together.
back.
It's one big thing?
Yes, it's one
Okay.
statement, yes.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Jones, what was your,
It was just a small thing, but the second sentence, through impartial investigations, thorough reviews, and proactive engagement with stakeholders, we strive to promote integrity and build bridges of trust between the Akron Police Department and the communities it serves. Because
and the
we're talking
communities, not they, but it
about- It
serves?
serves, yes, and put an S on the S, serve.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so with this grammatical adjustment, right, that's what we're voting on. So we're ready to vote? Everybody ready? Anything else? Okay. Roll call vote. Anaskevich?
Yes?
Gibbon?
Yes?
Peebles?
Yes.
Hawkins?
Yes.
Castle?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Boyd, yes. Resolution passes. Congratulations, and thank you, Ms. Myers, for your efforts and your work here.
And the second item, again, you have some amazing staff, and I appreciate them tremendously. They see that we need to have some logos and some mission statements and all that kind of stuff that drives the team, and I really appreciate that. So I'd ask Ms. Shannon Thompson to put together a logo for the office that we would affix to, say, a jacket or T-shirt or something that we could use as we go out into the community to kind of represent the office. So there's an example of the logo that she has prepared. And again, I would present that to the board and ask that that it be adopted so that we can go forth, because we do want to put together some shirts so that we can wear out into the community.
I get a motion?
I'm not Ms. Castle, you're more the artistic type. Does this look okay with you? I know you did a lot of the work on the logo that we adopted before.
Just looking at this for the first time, I think I just need a second to process it, but I think it looks good. The only thing that I would like to see is I feel like we need to Akronize it a little bit, have some sort of Akron acknowledgement on it would be my only recommendation, just looking at it at this first glance.
Mr. Chairman, I'd prefer not to make a motion then.
Well, we don't have to.
We don't have to.
We
You don't
gotta
have to
move
make
it
a
to
motion.
discussion.
I'll make the motion.
We got a motion. I got a second?
Can we discuss it a little bit?
No, we
I'm
discuss
going to move
after
to
the motion.
table it,
Oh,
though,
okay.
unless Katie's
Second.
satisfied.
We got a second. Okay, discussion.
Okay. OIPA the P stands for police auditor, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I would prefer I would prefer this to have police auditor on there, written on there somewhere, because everyone doesn't know what OIPA, what the PA stands for. So I would prefer for it to say police auditor. That way it distinguishes the auditor from the CPOB board.
I would agree with that. I think it begs the question, what does OIPA mean? And so even if you see the logo, you still, unless you are just informed from some other source, you don't know what OIPA. I actually like the image as well as just the overall look of it, but I do think that maybe OIPA, maybe underneath it, as Ms. Anaskevich is saying, we sort of define what OIPA means.
I think I'd like to make, go ahead, Ms. Hawkins, I'm sorry.
Yes, that was my suggestion also, that it says like the Oversight Independent Police Auditor, because everybody, people that see this, they might think Ohio, they might think, they might not understand what it means. So it should have some kind of description exactly of what the OIPA stands for.
Now, and if I can make a recommendation, I feel like this needs to go through the committee before we bring it to the board. So I think whether that's the governance or whether that's community engagement, I feel like that needs to be the first stop before it comes to the board. That way, all these kind of things are there before we bring it to the board floor. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
And I'll move to table my motion, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
thank you. And so that would be my recommendation, Mr. Fennell and Ms. Keisler-Light.
That needs a vote, I guess. The motion to table needs a vote. Sorry.
I need a roll call vote. All right.
Yeah.
So let's roll call vote it to table this discussion. Anaskevich?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes.
Peoples?
Yes.
Hawkins?
Yes.
Castle?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Boyd, yes. Resolution passes. But yeah, I would move to talk about this during committee meetings.
Okay, and then one last bit of news is that finally got the list certified for our interns, and we will be scheduling interviews for the high school interns beginning the week of January 6th. So I'll keep you advised on the process.
A quick question, are there just two, or something I read looked like there were just two?
Yes, there are just two.
Okay, and how many would you say would be the optimal number to have?
We were hoping to get at least 6. We had more applicants or candidates that applied, but they did not complete the entire process to make the list. They didn't complete all of the tasks that needed to be completed in order to apply.
Okay, are there any ideas for recruitment? I mean, I know you all have done some things, but
Well,
additional recruitment, education and recruitment?
At this time, no. We did do some recruitment. We reposted the announcement. We met with representatives from APS who did some extensive recruitment. But quite frankly, because of the nature of the work and the seriousness of what we're trying to accomplish here, I'm of the mindset that I can't chase witnesses and I can't chase individuals to get them to apply. And then if we did that, they would be in there, we'd have to also be on them. We might as well do the work ourselves. So I think we have some great candidates. They seem very intelligent, very eager. Look forward to speaking with them and interviewing them, and then we will work with what we have to make to get the job done.
Okay, good start anyway. Thank you.
I'm sorry, that concludes the report.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fennell. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Fennell before we move on? All right. Mr. Gibbon, you have anything governance?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Governance met a week ago on the 11th, as we had very good public participation with the during the meeting. We discussed a number of topics, and I'll touch on them. We do have one action item. We'd been discussing for several, at least one meeting, maybe two before, about consolidating the date for the committees to meet and putting it on a regular schedule, hopefully to get make it more possible to have board participation, but also so that the community knows more clearly when to expect committee meetings. So accordingly, the committee votes to recommend, and I move that the second Wednesday of the month typically be a committee meeting day, or really evening, with the expectation that review would meet at 4:30, governance at 5:30, as other committees might have need to meet, that they would probably let Mr. Fennell know, or Shannon, so that those could be scheduled in the notice around that general schedule for those two committees that will usually meet. So hopefully that will improve our process. Should add, it does not preclude more meetings. If there's a need for one or more committees to meet at other times during the month, they would notice those meetings and meet. So I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, let's roll call vote. Aniskevich?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes.
Peebles?
Yes.
Hawkins?
Yes.
Castle?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Boyd, yes.
Mr. Chairman, we continued our discussion about use of force review. Our meeting preceded by a couple of days the announcement from the administration about the proposal for the review that's been initiated. The committee had, and the conclusion we reached was that we would proceed with our own, call it independent examination of the issue, so that we could make meaningful contribution to the city's process when it started. As far as I know, I haven't heard from anybody that there's an intention to change that. And I see on in the auditor's report that the plan that we discussed and really decided upon that evening in governance to have a community forum, and that reflected your recommendation, Mr. Chairman, is going to go forward. So again, I would call that out from the auditor's report. January 21st, 2025, we will have a community forum to discuss use of force and the APD use of force policy review process from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Dominion Faith Church, 90 Thornton Street here in Akron. And we'll provide more information. We hope we have widespread information. Mr. Chairman, if I might just personally, obviously the committee is not, we had no opportunity to discuss the proposal of the administration and council leadership, and nor do I understand we're planning to do that tonight. So I would just like to say personally, as one board member, that I'm extremely gratified that the administration is undertaking this report as proposed. It is for council to decide about it, but I, for one, was just extremely pleased to see the proposal. It's certainly something that we've been urging almost since we came into being. As described, I think it has every promise of success, and that will be a major step forward in fulfilling the promise of Issue 10. So I am, again, just personally, but I'm just extremely pleased.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Gibbon.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbon. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Gibbon before we move forward?
I'm not quite sure I understood what you just said.
I just said I'm really, really happy about the administration and council's proposal to undertake this review of use of force policy.
I see.
But that we're going to continue our work so that we can contribute meaningfully to that process, as I understand we're going to be invited to do.
Okay. Well, my thought, and I guess we're all giving a lot of thought to it, but just my major thought and hope and concern is that whatever is generated by this review committee, by this the law firm as well as the firm that they are looking to hire, that whatever is in the ultimate report is that the recommendations, there has to be some kind of mandate, I think, for the recommendations to be followed. Otherwise, it's just going to be another report with recommendations that will sit on the shelf. And so my hope would be, because I'm in favor of the report too, of a review too, but I'm just concerned that without any mandates in place, that whatever this 6-month investigation and review will do, at the end of the day, it will just be yet another report. So I'm hoping that that will be taken into consideration.
I concur with that sentiment, Ms. Jones. Yeah, we just can't have another thing.
I do as well. I do as well.
Me too, and I'm confident we'll be pushing. And you're leading the way, Ms. Jones.
Right, and hopefully we can get our police department and everybody else on board who will actually have to do the work in implementing the recommendations.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Gippen, and all those serving in governance. Do we have a report out for community engagement on this evening?
We
Well,
don't.
Mr. Gippen just kind of.
Yes, he did, he
Yeah,
did. He
thank you.
spoke to that, and what we're trying to do is, as we meet with for governance and discuss the issues that pertain to that particular committee, we're looking at the community engagement aspects of it, so whatever we decide to do, how do we educate the community, how do we get the community's input? So as has been mentioned, there is a summit or forum scheduled for the 21st of January. We're talking, and I know Ms. Myers is sort of leading the curriculum development and the structure of what that meeting will look like. I think we're all in agreement that, one, it should be structured so that we get the maximum amount of input from our community members, and that there be some direction. In other words, people don't just come and vent and rage and complain, but that there's an issue, even if it's what's your number one idea for how we should change our use of force policy, something that people are reacting to, that we can record, and so that we can use their input in whatever we're coming up with in terms of our recommendations. I do have some concern. I listened to the council meeting on Monday, and I know Councilman Garrett is planning on a forum, I think a few days before this one, and then another forum on the 22nd. And so, so I'm just kind of, it seems like you have a
Yes,
comment to that, yes.
We're going to work with them to coordinate so that we're not burning people out.
Good, good. That was my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. We're going to forego the rest of our committee report outs because one is finance and Mr. Costa's not here, and the same with human resources, and I don't think there was anything that was pressing in that regard. So now I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to get legal counsel. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Roll call. Roll call. Aniskevich?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes.
Peebles?
Yes.
Hawkins?
Yes.
Castle?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Boyd, yes. We'll be going into executive session. When we come out, we may be looking, if I'm correct, Mr. Fennell, vote on something? I hope so, yeah. Yep, all right, thank you.
Okay.
Let,
I'm trying to look out for you, brother. All right. Okay, everybody. My comments are brief. As chair of this board, first of all, I just want to thank everybody. To look from where we came, I just thank everybody for their efforts, their sacrifices, their service to our city. I know it hasn't always been easy, but we've stayed together and we have persevered through. Next thing I want to say is just thank you to, Mr. Fennell, Keisha, Ms. Thompson. Just your work has, lightened our load as a board. And I know personally I appreciate it. And I just want to encourage us as a board as we move into 2025, there will be a shift in how we function, how we operate, because we do now have an executive director, so to speak. And so with that, he will and his team will continue to increase. Not that we become insignificant, because we never will. However, we're looking, and I can remember Ms. Aniskevich saying this when Mr. Anthony Fennell came on, he becomes a little bit of helping to steer and to pilot the things that we're doing, and that's what we're trusting you to do, Mr. Fennell. We will continue to function as a board as far as our committees and the things that we're doing, the knowledge that we'll bring, not only of our city, but of the practice of what we're doing. But we're continuing to learn from you, Mr. Fennell. I mean, within this city, you are the resident expert when it comes to oversight. I don't know anybody else. I know you. And so, and last but not least, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Enjoy your families, drive safe, stay warm. I make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? God bless you. Be safe.